Hey guys, this is Quinn, that's Snazzy iPhone guy. This is just a quick little harebrained experiment I came up with, and maybe we'll continue it in the coming weeks if it's something you guys like, but I thought it'd be a fun little demo to try out. We have a bunch of brilliant people here right now, and we are going to talk about the iPad 2 and the launch of it. So we have 5 people here. If you guys can go ahead and introduce yourself. Greg, you take it first. Where are you at on the interwebs
All right, I'm Greg. I have a YouTube channel, don't really talk much. I got Twitter, from St. Louis, and just got my brand new iPad 2. Waited like 8 hours in line for it, actually, so it was
Perfect.
worth it.
Oliver?
I run Verizon.com. Hey. I'm actually the CEO and founder of it. I got my iPad 2 on Verizon, only waited 1 hour for it, and at the last 5 minutes, 20 people showed up behind me, so I was pretty safe to get my iPad.
Perfect. We picked up Austin a little bit late. A little bit about you and how you got your iPad. What kind of story behind it? Where'd you wait in line? All that good stuff.
So I headed out about 3 or 4 hours before the release went. I went down to my local Best Buy. The line wasn't actually too bad. I think I was like about 12th in line. Ended up being about 35, 40 people there, but yeah, it wasn't too bad at all.
Right on. Luis?
I went to Best Buy like around 1:30ish and waited in line. I was fourth in line, and overall there was like 25 people in line. And at the end, actually, at 5 o'clock, there was about 60 people in line. And that's pretty much it.
Right on. And Ted?
My name's Ted. I have a YouTube channel, Ted's Tech Talk, and I've been using my friend's iPad 2, but next week I will be going to the Apple Store to purchase the iPad 2.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest news pieces of today was that the iPad shipping from Apple.com has been pushed back, not from the original 1 to 2 weeks, but now 3 to 4 weeks. Does that seem overkill to you guys, or for those of you that have the iPad, which is all of you but me, do you think it's a worthy
Quinn doesn't have an iPad.
way? I don't.
Yeah.
I had the original iPad. I sold it for my MacBook, which eventually I sold again and bought my current Mac Mini, which I'm going to be selling, but that's a later conversation. Anyways, yeah, the iPad 2, I think it's a brilliant device. I think the hardware is excellent. I just don't really have a use for it. I mean, I loved my original one, and I think they're barrels of fun, but for productivity and for kind of what I need for school, it's not really more than a toy, and I'm not sure that I'd use it all that often, especially since I'm looking into getting a MacBook Air, which I think would pretty much replace it, especially with the development of the Mac App Store. But enough about that. For everyone that's in here, what are your first thoughts on the iPad 2? I mean, battery life, processor power, graphics acceleration. What, if you had the original iPad, is so much better? And, the cameras, let us hear it all. So, Austin, you kick it off.
Well, just starting off with battery life, that was actually one of the really surprising things because it's so much thinner than the first iPad. I was talking to a couple of people. I got it out of the box that had like 90% battery. I've had it since Friday when I picked it up. It's at like 15% right now, and I've been using it, playing lots of games, making lots of videos and stuff. So the battery life has been really, really great. I've been super impressed with that.
Right on. And, this 9x graphics acceleration, have you noticed any difference in games you've played, or is it about the same for current games in the App Store?
Well, I haven't played a lot of the brand new games. I believe it's Dead Space, and I think there's a couple of them that have been optimized. I don't have any of those, but as far as just the standard kind of apps that I've already have, I've noticed that they seem to load a little bit faster. They seem to look maybe just the slightest bit better, but I think what we're going to have to wait for is, when they actually get, really iPad 2 optimized apps in the next couple of months to really see the graphics performance.
Yeah, that's true, just like the original iPad as well. In terms of screen bleeding, have you experienced that yet? I mean, there's the kind of the rumor running around the internet that the light kind of refracts from inside the case and you get this ugly kind of whitish bleed when you're on a black screen.
I'm the one, and I've not noticed anything. I've been in a dark room. I've looked at it. Yeah, it looks perfect to me. So I think maybe it happens to a couple of iPads, but I had absolutely whatsoever.
Right on. Perfect. Greg, what about you?
Not to interrupt, but mine actually does have the bleeding on mine, actually, unfortunately. Basically, when I have just on regular home screen, you don't notice it at all. It's not viewable. But say I pull up Netflix or want to watch a movie, I would say probably on the lower right of my dock, probably right below the farthest right icon. I've got two itty bitty light spots, but compared to I think Engadget posted a video about it. Compared to the pictures they showed, mine wasn't nearly as bad as theirs.
Right on. Well, that is what Apple cares for, so I'm sure they'll be more than happy to replace it once, time kind of evolves a little bit. Other than that, though, performance graphics, what is outstanding to you about the iPad 2?
Oh, the speed. Speed's very, very crucial.
Definitely.
Very, very important, especially if you're going to be running, power apps. You want to, especially if you even have 3G. The 3G performance is blazing. Even if I'm going on Wi-Fi, I was uploading a video. Bandwidth was very, very bad. It loaded it like a charm. I was very impressed. Extremely impressed.
Very cool. Ted, what about you?
Well, as far as iPad 2 thoughts, I mean, I think it's a nice upgrade from the first generation. The speed, the cameras. But like I said, I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't any improved screen display. But I think it is a nice upgrade.
Right on. And then, Luis, what do you think about the overall performance?
I thought it was amazing. The dual-core processor things are really fast, very neat, by the way. As far for graphics, I tried out Real Racing 2 HD, and it was way better compared to the first.
Is that game worth it, by the way?
I on the first generation iPad, I've tried it out, but it's all right. It was a nice upgrade, I guess, for some users.
That's cool. I think on the iPhone 4 with the Retina graphics and the gyroscope, it's stellar. And that's the other thing about the iPad. I mean, that the gyroscope really isn't implemented as much as I think it should be, but I think that will be really cool, especially for the iPad 2 with this, kind of virtual reality kind of environment that's even more practical than with the iPhone. So I think that'll end up being pretty cool so long as developers expand it.
One thing I actually, if I could jump in, one thing I actually thought they could have really, stressed on when they go with the iPad is putting a new screen in it. The screen, the reason I didn't like the first iPad was with the screen that, nothing really improved with the second one. The smart cover was kind of a nice addition, but, it doesn't even protect the back. So $30, out of your pocket. I just thought the display could have been much, much better because you're looking at it every second that, you're using it. So I thought that you could have utilized and implemented something a little stronger there.
Well, actually, if I could jump in, I actually really like the iPad 2 display. I mean, I know it's the same as the iPad 1, and it definitely could be higher resolution, but the viewing angles are great. It's really nice and clear and crisp. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wish they would, increase the resolution, all that kind of stuff, but really, personally, I don't really have any complaints about it myself.
The reason I only go like a little towards myself on that is because I come from an iPhone 4 and the Retina display is just so crystal clear. And when I go and use my iPad, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just and even being that I'm using a mobile handset that I'm using, it's my iPhone 4. It's not even a tablet. You know what I mean? And I already saw front-facing camera on my iPhone, and I barely use FaceTime or photo booth on my iPad. It's just one of those things that you just got to see. Way but facing, which just makes the whole look. That really made me want to get it.
Yeah, that's true. I think they did a major, sleek upgrade. It looks a lot sexier, and it's significantly thinner than it was. Actually, it's thinner than the iPhone 4, which to me is outstanding. I haven't even held one yet. I'm going to the store tomorrow, hopefully, to check one out. But yeah, I mean, they look freaking cool. White versus black. Who got what?
I got black all the way.
Black.
I got a white one.
No racism.
I looked at the white yesterday. It looked a little, I don't know.
Didn't dig it?
I think the white. I did. They don't have where I went. I chose the black.
I mean, I don't know. I had that white iPhone 4 for a while, and boy, that was a beauty.
I think the reason that someone would go for white though is to show if someone looked at it because there's no white iPhone yet. So if someone went up and said, "Oh, look at my white iPad," they would have known it's the new one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things.
That was the reason I debated about getting the white. Was basically I talked to my friends about like, hey, which one should I get? And they're like, I'll get the white because if someone walks up to you, they see you have the white, they see you have that new one.
And it is. It's this total Apple mantra. I mean, even back, if you can remember, I think the iPod 5th gen was the first black iPod. I'm pretty sure. And other than the MIDI, and there were other colors of that. But like the first black iPod was the 5th gen, and everyone got the black because that was the first black. No one else had the black. The black was cool because it was the black one. Everyone else's was white. And I think that's kind of the same story with this iPad 2 and with the iPhone 4. Is white's way cool, not because people actually like it, even though I do. I think the white looks pretty sleek, but moreover because no one else has the white one. It makes you cool if you have it.
Yeah, actually, if you're working on the display, if you guys have the iPad in front of you, if you compare it to the iPad 1, you can see that even with the cinema display update, the LED cinema displays has the exact same update kind of thing. With the iPad and the iPad 2, you can see that it has a wider bezel, and you don't see the silver backing that comes from the back around the original iPad. You can also see that with the cinema displays. The LED cinema display 24-inch had a silver bezel around it, but now the black just takes over the whole glass screen, which is very nice. It's very sleek.
The black is the reason I got the black one, due in part because everyone's talking about, why should you get the black, why should you get the white? And I thought about it, and I realized, well, I would watch more movies and watch more TV and stuff like that on my iPad than I'm going to be reading. And when I'm watching a video in widescreen, I really don't want to see a white edge around my black. It just kind of sticks out in my mind. It kind of ruins it. Although I would agree that the white is much better for, say you're using it more as an ebook. I mean, if you're reading a book, it's going to look great with the white edges because you have the white paper. But I mean, I don't do that much reading on my iPad. I'm more of a hardback, regular book kind of guy. So that was part of the thing that kind of swayed my decision personally.
Right on. 2 last questions for all of you, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. First one is do you actually read books on your iPad, or is it more a gaming device, or do you even read books at all? Like I personally, it's one of the problems I had with the iPad, and I've always had when people are like, oh, it's the perfect e-reader. I don't see it. I mean, it's basically like reading on a computer, which don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It's not a horrible experience, but I can only do it for so long. After that, I get eye strain, and it's just not quite as comfortable. Whereas with the Barnes & Noble Nook, which is what I read 95% of my books on, it looks like paper, and that seems kind of diluted. I mean, the Kindle and the Nook, it was a big deal back a couple years ago, but now that it's kind of blended into this one thing, it doesn't really seem to that many people that it's that big a deal. I mean, reading on an iPad is just like reading on a Nook or a Kindle. So what do you think? Do you read books on your iPad? Does it strain your eyes, or could you really care less?
I think it's more of a browsing experience. Yeah, I don't think that Apple really took over the book market, honestly. I think it's more in charge of Amazon or some kind of, Barnes and Noble. But I think the iPad is more of a social media aspect, not social media, but a media aspect, watching a movie, watching a TV show, or browsing the web. I think that's really essentially what I would use my iPad for, and what usually, when you go into an Apple store, that's what people are checking out. Apps, movies, how the display is, all these kinds of things that have functionality with what they're going to use in their daily lives.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I actually like reading on the iPad. I mean, I've read I've got a lot of my stuff on Kindle. I've read on like iPods and iPhones and all that kind of stuff. But iPad, it's not really that high resolution. You can definitely tell that when you're reading it, it doesn't look super crisp and clear like on like a Kindle or a Nook or something. But I don't know, I just think it's kind of nice to just be able to just have it right alongside on your iPad and read a little bit at least. Maybe not read full books, but I don't really have a whole lot of issues with it.
Right on. Anyone else?
Yeah, you go.
Pretty much what Austin says. It's I only read a little bit of books. I don't read like full page books. When I get bored once in a while, I go ahead and read a book, but never actually finish it at all.
I mean, I'm gonna agree with most of them. I actually don't really read much at all other than real books. I mean, I'm a senior in high school, so I mean, I've got probably 4 books in my backpack at one time, and we have to be constantly highlighting all that kind of stuff. So most of my books are all hardback. I've never really considered reading on the iPad, but what I've done, I've read some on my iPhone 4, and it looks great. And I've tried reading on the iPad, but it just doesn't have a lot of appeal to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then my other question was battery life. Anyone find a battery life decrease, or is it about the same, or have you even had enough time with it to really know?
I thought it's actually gotten better. When I first used it, I watched Netflix a lot, especially in bed. It's one of the reasons I got the iPad. My laptop's got about an hour of battery life on Wi-Fi. But like I felt like at first, after using it for the first hour or two, I actually lost a lot more battery life than I was expecting. Because I've used my brother's, and he's got the original one, and it's got great battery life. The life is actually might have gotten better. Maybe I just noticed it, but I think it's fantastic. I mean, I've been playing on it all day, and it's down to about 70%, 71% battery. So I think it's great.
Right on. Anyone else disagree, or do you feel about the same?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Like for example, like last night, I pulled up my iPad. I just started, like reading some websites and that sort of thing, just strict, just normal web browsing. I was on it for about an hour and a half, and I think it went down like 6 or 7%. Especially web browsing, it doesn't really burn through the battery at all.
Makes me
When you're watching video and that sort of thing, it goes through a lot faster. But yeah, I don't have any problems with the battery life.
Right on. Gotta love it. That's one of the things I miss about the iPad is just, oh man, that's so great. Anyway, so Oliver, you had one last point you wanted to bring up?
I had one thing to actually mention. I don't know. I think it would be more useful to the iOS users just in general. If you may have known through the iOS beta, they had these four-finger gestures with the multitasking bar and pinch when you go back to the home screen and everything. And there actually is a solution to that, and it works beautifully on the iPad. Actually, we do have a post on it of how to do it and everything, but the functionality actually brings into Xcode. If you go in and lock, you don't even have to have a developer account for this, but you can even get Xcode off the App Store for only $5. Make your iPad or iOS device a developer iPad or iOS device, and then you can have these unlocked hidden gestures in your iPad, which allow you to pinch to zoom that goes to the home screen, swipe 4 fingers left and right to go to different apps that are open, four finger swipe up to go to the multitasking mode and everything like that. So it's a really nice functionality. It's only basically $5 if you get it from the Mac App Store.
Right on, and you can find that post at iandlive.com, correct?
Definitely, yeah. We have everything on it. You can get instructions, written instructions, video, everything's there.
Right on. So thank you everyone for making it tonight. Hopefully it was something that you all enjoyed.
Thank you for having us, Mr. Quinn.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Quinn. Thank you.
Viewers,
It's a lot of fun.
let us know what you think, and maybe it's something we'll continue in the future. Before we wrap up, why don't you go ahead and throw out your YouTube channel or your Twitter name or whatever you want so we can find you on the interwebs. Austin, kick it off.
Yeah, you guys can find me youtube.com/Duncan33303. Same on Twitter, just Duncan33303.
Perfect. Greg?
YouTube, I don't really do much, so you don't really need to know it. Twitter, GM and Egger, it's kind of hard to spell. I think Quinn will just maybe post or something, but
Absolutely.
GE, yeah, it's long, it's annoying. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I tweet a lot.
Perfect. Oliver?
You can find me on iandlive.com. We have everything that you have to know about technology, music, design, and lifestyle, everything in one site. My Twitter and everything's there, so you can all find it in one place with the top-of-the-line technology blog on the web.
Perfect. Luis?
You can find me on Twitter at youtube.com/Luis McIntosh, and my Twitter handle is McIntosh.
Perfect. Ted?
You can find me at youtube.com/Ted's Tech Talk, as well as twitter.com/Ted's Tech Talk.
Awesome. And I'm Quinn. That's Snazzy iPhone Guy. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week. And as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.